Hey Math Aces, and welcome to Mr. Ace Math. In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to multiply fractions and whole numbers. And as always, let's start with the lesson breakdown. And just so you know, in the description below, you'll find this exact lesson breakdown with timestamps next to each part of the lesson. And you can use those timestamps to go to whichever part of the lesson you need the most. First, we'll talk about how to convert whole numbers to fractions. This is very important for this topic. Then, we'll have 3 different examples where I'll show you step by step how to multiply fractions and whole numbers. After that, we'll have the pause and practice. This is where you'll have some questions of your own to try to see if you've mastered this skill. After those questions, the answers will be revealed, followed by the reflection, where we briefly review everything from this lesson. But in order to do well in this lesson, you're going to need the following skills. Number 1, you'll need to be comfortable with basic multiplication. Number 2, you need to know how to reduce fractions. And number 3, you'll have to be able to convert from improper fractions to mixed numbers. So make sure you know those, and let's get started. In order to multiply whole numbers with fractions, we need to make sure we follow this important step, which is to turn whole numbers into fractions. The only way to do that is to put that number over 1. So let's say we have the whole number 10. And we want to turn this number into a fraction. To make that happen, we're going to have to take that 10 and put it over 1. This is 10 as a fraction. 10 over 1. Let's say we have 23. How would we write 23 as a fraction? Well, we would put 23 over 1. And how about the number 2? Well, again, to make it a fraction, we have to put that number over 1. So as a fraction, that number will be 2 over 1. So let's go into our first example. Here we have 3 over 4 times 7. Step number 1 is to turn each value into a fraction. The first value here is already a fraction, but this number 7 is not. And to convert that whole number into a fraction, we need to put it over 1. So this 7 will become 7 over 1. Next, we just have to multiply across, which is pretty simple. We have the numbers on top, which are 3 and 7. We'll multiply those numbers across, and 3 times 7 is 21. So we're done with that first part, and we've got 21 in the top. We can put our fraction line under it, and then multiply across the bottom. So we'll have 4 times 1. And that equals 4. And now we're done with multiplying across the bottom. Step 3 is to simplify if we need to. But there's no number that can divide both 21 and 4. So we can go to step 4, which is to convert if we need to. Here we do, because we can't leave this answer like this because it's an improper fraction. So we need to take this improper fraction and convert it to its equivalent mixed number. To do that, we'll have to find out how many times 4 can go into 21. And that's 5. Because 5 times 4 is 20. Meaning our remainder will be 1, and that remainder will be the numerator in our fraction. So we'll place it up here. And then we'll put our fraction line, and then keep our denominator the same, which is 4. So 3 over 4 times 7 over 1 equals 5 1/4. Let's take a look at our second example. Here we have 5 over 8 times 3. First, we have to turn each value into a fraction. So if we see any whole numbers, we have to put them over 1. 5 over 8 is already a fraction, but the second value, 3, is not. So we're going to have to take that 3 and put it over 1. Since we have two fractions, it means we're done with step 1. And we can go to the next step, which is to multiply across. So we'll start by multiplying the tops. And 5 times 3 equals 15. Then we'll put our fraction line and then multiply across the bottoms, which is 8 times 1. And that equals 8. So we'll put that down here. So we're done multiplying across, which means we're done with step 2. Step 3 is to simplify, but there's no way to reduce these two values using the same number. So we're done with step 3. And finally, step 4 is to convert. This means if you have an improper fraction like this, we convert it into its equivalent mixed number. This means we'll have to divide 15 by 8. And 8 can go into 15 one whole time. 8 times 1 is 8. And 15 minus 8 equals 7. That 7 is going to be our remainder. So we'll put our 7 over here because the remainder becomes the numerator, put our fraction line, and then keep the denominator the same. So we'll place an 8 here. Now that we have our mixed number, we're done with step 4. Meaning the final answer to 5 over 8 times 3 over 1 is 1 and 7 over 8. Now to our final example. Here we have 4 times 3 over 10. Step 1 is to turn each value into a fraction. So if we see a whole number, we turn it into a fraction by putting it over 1. This number 4 is a whole number. So we'll have to take this 4 and put it over 1. Now that both numbers are fractions, that means we're done with step 1 and can move on to step 2, which is to multiply across. So let's start by multiplying across the top. 4 times 3 equals 12. We're done multiplying across the top, so we can put a fraction line under 12 and then multiply across the bottom. And 1 times 10 equals 10. We finished multiplying across the top and bottom, so we're done with step 2. Step 3 is to simplify. 12 and 10 can both be simplified by dividing by 2. So what's 12 divided by 2? Well, that's 6. And what's 10 divided by 2? Well, that's 5. So since we can't simplify this anymore, we're done with step 3. And now we can move on to step 4, which is to convert. 6 over 5 is an improper fraction, which means we have to convert it to its equivalent mixed number. So how many times can 5 go into 6? Well, that's one whole time. And the remainder from doing that is the value 1. So that remainder becomes our numerator. Then we'll write our fraction line and keep our denominator the same, which is 5. Since we have our equivalent mixed number, we're done with step 4, making our final answer to 4 over 1 times 3 over 10 equal to 1 and 1 over 5. So here's your pause and practice. Just pause and practice. Hit the pause button and try these 6 questions. Once you're done, hit the play button to see if your answers are correct. Ready, set, go. So let's take a look at our answers. Number 1 is 2 and 4 over 5. Number 2 is 3. Number 3 is 1 and 3 over 7. Number 4 is 4 and 1 over 6. Number 5 is 6 and 3 over 10. And number 6 is 1. So how did you do, Math Aces? If you got everything right, I want you to put Pause and Practice Pro in the comments. And don't forget to share this lesson with a friend. So what did we learn today? In order to multiply by a fraction, every number must be a fraction. To turn a whole number into a fraction, you must put the whole number over 1. After multiplying across, what 2 things should be done if needed? First, you should simplify if possible, and finally, you should convert your final answer to a mixed number. So there you have it, Math Aces, everything you need to know about how to multiply fractions and whole numbers. I hope this lesson was helpful, and if you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments. I would love to help. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in math class.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Questions? Comments? Leave them down below.
And thanks for using Mr. Ace Math. Don't just pass math, ace it.